Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we resetting sail back in time to one of the most fascinating and misunderstood periods in history, the Viking Age. When you hear the word Viking, you probably picture horned helmets, brutal raids, and epic sagas. While there's some truth to that, the real story is so much richer. Spanning from the late 8th to the mid-11th century, the Viking Age was a time of massive expansion for the Scandinavian peoples of modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. These weren't just raiders. They were explorers, traders, settlers, and innovators whose influence stretched from the riverbanks of Russia to the shores of North America. They left their mark on language, culture, and even the DNA of people across the globe. So, grab your axe metaphorically, of course, and let's dive into the world of the Vikings. To understand the Vikings, we first need to look at where they came from. Early Scandinavian society wasn't a unified kingdom. It was a patchwork of clans and chiefdoms, led by powerful jarls or nobles. Life was centered around the farmstead, where families worked the land. Their economy was a mix of agriculture, craftsmanship, and trade. But when resources were scarce or ambition struck, raiding became a profitable alternative. Their religion was a core part of their identity. They worshipped a pantheon of Norse gods: Odin, the Allfather, Thor, the god of thunder, and Freya, the goddess of love and war. These beliefs shaped their worldview, their art, and their unyielding spirit as skilled seafarers, ready to face the unknown. The year is 793 AD on the quiet, holy island of Lindisfarne off the coast of northeastern England. Monks go about their daily prayers. Suddenly, from the sea, sleek, dragon-headed ships appear. Warriors leap ashore, storming the monastery with terrifying speed and ferocity. This brutal attack on a defenseless religious center sent shockwaves across Christian Europe. It is widely considered the event that kicked off the Viking Age. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle described them as heathen men who lamentably destroyed God's church. This raid established the Viking reputation for sudden, devastating attacks, striking wealthy, poorly defended coastal targets, grabbing what they could, and vanishing back into the sea as quickly as they appeared. But the Vikings were far more than just hit-and-run raiders. They were arguably the greatest explorers of their time, using rivers and open seas as their highways. They fanned out across the known world and beyond. In the east, they sailed down the great rivers of Russia, reaching the Byzantine Empire and the Middle East, where they were known as the Rus. In the west, they didn't just raid England and Ireland. They settled their founding cities like Dublin. They colonized the uninhabited lands of Iceland and then pushed even further, establishing settlements in Greenland under Eric the Red. And around the year 1000, his son, Leif Erikson, became the first European to set foot in North America, place they called Vinland nearly 500 years before Columbus. None of this would have been possible without their single greatest technological achievement: the Viking ship. The longship was a masterpiece of naval engineering. It was long, narrow, and incredibly fast. Its clinker-built hull was both strong and flexible, allowing it to ride the waves of the open ocean. But its most ingenious feature was its shallow draft. This meant it could not only cross the North Sea, but also sail far upriver, deep into enemy territory, enabling the surprise attacks they were famous for. They also built sturdier cargo ships called nares for trade and colonization. How did they navigate? With incredible skill. They used the sun and stars, the flight patterns of birds, the color of the water, and distant landmarks. This mastery of the sea was the key that unlocked the world for them. So, what was Viking society actually like? It was structured hierarchically, with kings at the top, followed by the powerful jarls, and then the majority of the population, the carls, or free commoners. Below them were the thralls, or slaves, who were often captives from raids. One of the most progressive aspects of their culture was the status of women. Compared to many other European societies of the time, Norse women had significant rights. They could own property, inherit land, and initiate divorce. While men were away trading or raiding, women ran the farms and households. The Vikings were also exceptional craftsmen, excelling in metalwork, woodwork, and shipbuilding. Their culture placed a high value on honor, loyalty to one's chieftain, and personal bravery. Religion was woven into the fabric of daily life. The Vikings worshipped the Norse gods, or Geir, a complex family of deities with very human-like flaws. Odin was the god of wisdom, poetry, and war, who sacrificed an eye for knowledge. Thor, with his mighty hammer Mjolnir, was a protector of humanity against giants. Their beliefs about the afterlife were centered on martial glory. Warriors who died bravely in battle were believed to be chosen by the Valkyries and taken to Odin's great hall, where they would feast and fight until they were called upon to battle alongside the gods at Ragnarok. The end of the world. Pagan rituals, animal sacrifices, and complex burial rites were all part of their spiritual practice, until the late Viking Age, when a new faith began to take hold. Let's talk about warfare. The image of the Viking warrior is legendary for a reason. Their raids were based on speed and surprise, and they were masters of psychological warfare. Armed with a round shield, a spear, and a formidable axe or sword, they were terrifying opponents. The Viking long axe could split a shield or a helmet with a single blow. While not everyone was a hulking brute, they were skilled fighters, proficient in both land and sea battles. And then there were the berserkers. These were legendary champions, said to fight in a trance-like fury, biting their shields and seemingly impervious to pain. While scholars debate their exact nature, their legend added to the fearsome reputation of Viking armies. But it's a huge mistake to only see them as warriors. The Vikings were also shrewd and successful traders. They established vast trade networks that connected Scandinavia with Europe, the Byzantine Empire, and the Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East. From the north, they brought valuable goods like furs, amber, walrus, ivory, and timber. In return, they acquired silver, silks, spices, glassware, and weapons from the south and east. They also tragically dealt in slaves. These trade routes followed the same rivers and sea lanes used for raiding, and many Viking settlements, like Hedeby in Denmark and Birka in Sweden, grew into bustling international trading hubs. The wealth generated from trade was just as important as the plunder from raids in funding their expeditions and building their power. So, what brought the Viking Age to an end? It wasn't one single event, but a gradual transformation. By the 11th century, the political landscape of Europe was changing. Strong, centralized kingdoms with professional armies emerged in places like England and France, making raiding much more difficult and costly. At the same time, the Scandinavian homelands were also consolidating into the kingdoms of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Perhaps the biggest factor was the spread of Christianity. As Viking leaders converted, it changed their culture, their values, and their relationship with the rest of Christian Europe. The traditional end date for the Viking Age is often cited as 1066, with the failed Norwegian invasion of England and the pivotal Battle of Stamford Bridge. Although the age of raiding was over, the Viking legacy lived on. It survives in our language, in place names, in our genes, and in the enduring, powerful stories of these incredible people. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the Viking Age. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what historical topic you'd like to see next. See you in the next one.